For 9 years, Adam believed he had built the kind of life most people only dream about. The kind of life that looks perfect from the outside. A successful tech company, a beautiful modern home in a quiet neighborhood, and a marriage that everyone around him admired. Adam and Sarah had met 12 years earlier at a networking event in Chicago. Adam was a young entrepreneur trying to grow a small software startup. Sarah was confident, intelligent, and effortlessly charming. Their connection felt immediate. Within months, they were inseparable. 2 years later, they were married. Friends often said they were the kind of couple that made relationships look easy. They rarely argued. They supported each other's careers. They hosted dinner parties where Sarah would laugh easily and Adam would talk excitedly about the future of their company. But perfection is often just a well-maintained illusion. And slowly, almost invisibly, that illusion began to crack. At first, the changes were so small that Adam barely noticed them. Sarah started staying later at work. Her marketing firm had always demanded long hours, so Adam didn't question it. Deadlines happened. Campaign launches happened. Late meetings happened. But the late nights began happening more often. Then came the phone. Sarah had never been secretive before. She used to leave her phone on the kitchen counter while she cooked dinner. She would casually hand it to Adam to show him photos or funny messages from friends. But suddenly, the phone never left her side. If she walked into another room, the phone went with her. If it buzzed during dinner, she would glance at it quickly and flip it face down. Sometimes Adam noticed her typing messages late at night with the brightness turned down. When he asked who she was talking to, she would simply say, "Work stuff." The explanation sounded normal, but something about her tone felt rehearsed. Still, Adam didn't want to be the kind of husband who doubted his wife without reason. So he ignored the feeling. For weeks, then months, until the night everything changed. It was a Tuesday. Adam had fallen asleep early after a long day at the office. Their company had just landed a major investor, and the stress of negotiations had drained him. When he woke up, the room was dark. The digital clock beside the bed read 2:30 a.m. At first, he didn't realize anything was wrong. Then he reached across the bed. The other side was empty. Sarah wasn't there. Adam sat up slowly. Sarah occasionally worked late at home, but she usually stayed in the bedroom with her laptop. The house was quiet. Too quiet. He got out of bed and walked toward the hallway. As he moved down the stairs, he heard something. A voice. Soft. Whispering. It was Sarah. Adam stopped halfway down the staircase. She was in the living room, standing near the window, speaking quietly into her phone. "I know," she whispered, "but you have to be patient." Adam felt a strange tension tighten in his chest. He couldn't hear the other person's voice, only Sarah's. She turned slightly as she continued speaking. "I told you we can't rush it." Adam stepped down one more stair. The wooden floor creaked. Sarah spun around immediately. The moment she saw him, her eyes widened. For a split second, she looked terrified. Then she quickly ended the call. The phone disappeared into her hand. "Oh," she said, forcing a small smile. "You scared me." Adam walked into the room slowly. "Who were you talking to?" "Work," she replied instantly. Her answer came too fast. Adam studied her face. Sarah was usually calm and composed, but right now her breathing looked uneven, and something else caught his attention. Her hands. They were shaking, not slightly, actually shaking. Adam tried to keep his voice neutral. "At 2:30 in the morning?" She shrugged casually. "You know how clients are. Time zones, emergencies, marketing never sleeps." She laughed softly, but the laugh sounded unnatural, like she was trying too hard. Adam nodded slowly. "Right," Neither of them spoke for a moment. Then Sarah stepped closer and touched his arm gently. "You're overthinking again," she said in a soothing tone. "Go back to bed." Adam wanted to believe her. He really did. So he nodded. They walked upstairs together. But as Adam lay back down, staring into the darkness, he realized something unsettling. Sarah had always been good at explaining things. But tonight, her explanation didn't feel real. Over the next few days, Adam tried to ignore the feeling. He focused on work, investor meetings, product development, hiring new engineers. But the memory of that night kept returning. The whispering, the fear in Sarah's eyes, the shaking hands. 3 days later, something happened that made ignoring it impossible. Adam and Sarah were having dinner at the kitchen table. Sarah's phone buzzed. She looked down at the screen for just a moment, but Adam noticed the change in her expression. A smile. Small. Private. Then she quickly locked the phone. Adam tried to sound casual. "Good news. Just work," she replied quickly. But Adam had seen that smile, and he knew something. That smile wasn't about work. That smile was about someone. Later that night, Adam sat alone in the living room. Sarah had gone upstairs. He stared at the dark television screen, replaying the past few months in his mind. The late nights, the secretive phone, the whispering call, the nervous behavior. A thought slowly began forming in his mind. A thought he didn't want to believe. But once the idea appeared, it refused to leave. What if Sarah wasn't just stressed from work? What if there was someone else? Adam immediately shook his head. No, Sarah wouldn't do that. Not after 9 years. Not after everything they built together. But the doubt had already planted itself. And once doubt enters a marriage, it rarely disappears. Instead, it grows. And Adam had no idea that the truth waiting ahead was far darker than a simple affair. Because the person Sarah had been whispering to that night was someone Adam trusted with his entire future. And discovering that truth would destroy everything he thought he knew about his life. The night Adam saw Sarah whispering on the phone refused to leave his mind. For the next few days, he tried to convince himself that nothing was wrong. He buried himself in work, meetings, emails, investor calls, product deadlines, anything to keep his mind busy. But every time he looked at Sarah, something inside him felt different. It wasn't anger. It was uncertainty. The kind of quiet suspicion that slowly grows until it becomes impossible to ignore. Sarah continued acting normal. Too normal. She laughed at dinner. She asked about Adam's day. She talked about work projects and upcoming marketing campaigns. But Adam noticed something subtle. Whenever her phone buzzed, she checked it instantly. And every time she looked at the screen, her expression changed. Sometimes she smiled. Sometimes she looked tense. But she never showed Adam the messages anymore. One evening, Adam walked into the kitchen while Sarah was texting. The moment she saw him, she locked the phone. It happened quickly, but Adam noticed. "Everything okay?" he asked casually. Sarah forced a smile. "Yeah, just work stuff." That same answer again. Work. Work had become the explanation for everything. Late nights, phone calls, secret messages. Adam nodded and pretended to believe her. But that night something inside him shifted. For the first time in their 9-year marriage, Adam began to wonder if Sarah was lying to him. Hashtag the phone bill. 2 mornings later, Adam woke up early. Sarah was still asleep. The sunlight barely touched the windows as he walked downstairs to the kitchen. He poured himself coffee and opened his laptop. At first, he hesitated. He didn't want to become the kind of husband who secretly checked his wife's phone records. But the thought wouldn't leave his mind. If nothing was wrong, the records would prove it. And then he could finally stop worrying. Adam logged into their mobile account. Both their phones were on the same plan. He clicked on Sarah's call history. The screen filled with numbers. Most were normal. Co-workers, clients, friends. But one number appeared again and again. Over and over. Late nights. Early mornings. Sometimes the calls lasted just a few minutes. Other times they stretched past an hour. Adam scrolled through the records. The number appeared almost every day. His stomach tightened. Whoever this person was, Sarah was talking to them constantly. Adam copied the number. Then he opened a new browser tab and searched it. The result appeared instantly. The name that appeared on the screen made Adam's heart drop. Michael Torres. Adam stared at the name in disbelief. Michael Torres wasn't a stranger. He wasn't a co-worker. He wasn't some random contact. Michael was Adam's business partner, the man Adam trusted more than anyone in the company. 3 years earlier, Michael had joined Adam's startup as a co-founder. Michael was smart, ambitious, and charismatic. Together, they had grown the company from a small operation into a rapidly expanding tech business. They had shared long nights planning strategies, celebrated investor deals, discussed future expansions. Michael had even attended their anniversary dinner last year. Adam remembered the moment clearly. Michael raising a glass, smiling, saying, "Asterisk, you two are relationship goals." Asterisk. The memory now felt disturbing. Adam leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen. There had to be a logical explanation. Maybe Sarah was helping Michael with something. Maybe it was related to work. Maybe, but the call times told a different story. 11:47 p.m. Stern 1, 12 a.m. Stern. Stern 2, 30 a.m. Stern. Those weren't business calls. Those were secrets. Adam suddenly felt cold. He closed the laptop slowly. For the rest of the day, he couldn't focus on anything. Every conversation felt distant. Every meeting felt meaningless. One question kept repeating in his mind. Why was Sarah talking to Michael in the middle of the night? Hashtag the company office. Later that afternoon, Adam arrived at the office. Michael was already there, standing near the conference room, talking with 2 developers. When Michael noticed Adam, he smiled. "Hey man," he said casually. "How'd the investor call go?" Adam studied his face. Michael looked exactly the same as always. Relaxed, confident, friendly. There was no sign of guilt, no sign of tension. Just the same partner Adam had trusted for years. "It went well," Adam replied. Michael nodded. "Good. That Series B funding could change everything." They walked toward Adam's office together. Michael leaned against the desk. "So, Sarah's still working crazy hours?" he asked casually. The question hit Adam like a punch. For a moment, Adam just stared at him. Why would Michael ask that? Had Sarah mentioned her late nights? Or did he already know? Adam forced a neutral expression. "Yeah," he said slowly. "Marketing deadlines." Michael nodded knowingly. "Yeah, she's been working hard." The words sounded normal, but something about the way he said them felt strange. Like he knew more than he should. Adam suddenly felt like he was standing inside a room where everyone else knew a secret except him. Hashtag 3 days later. For 3 days, Adam said nothing. He watched. He listened. He paid attention. And then the moment arrived. The moment that confirmed everything. It was Friday evening. Adam had left the office early. The sky was turning orange as the sun began to set. He stopped at a small coffee shop near downtown. As he stepped out of his car, something caught his attention. Across the street, near a small restaurant, Adam saw a familiar figure. It was Sarah. She stood near the entrance, looking around nervously. Adam felt his heartbeat quicken. Why was she here? She had told him she was working late. Then a black sedan pulled up to the curb. The driver stepped out. Adam instantly recognized him. Michael. For a moment, Adam felt like time had stopped. Michael walked towards Sarah. Sarah smiled. Not the polite smile she gave co-workers. Not the tired smile she gave Adam lately. This was different. Warmer. Personal. Michael stepped closer. And then it happened. He wrapped his arm around her. Sarah leaned into him. Comfortably. Naturally. Like they had done it many times before. Then their fingers intertwined. They were holding hands. Adam watched from across the street, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. 9 years of marriage, 3 years of partnership, and both of them were standing there together. Like Adam didn't exist. Like the life he believed in was nothing more than a lie. The two of them walked into the restaurant together, still holding hands. Adam remained frozen beside his car. The noise of the city faded around him. And for the first time, the truth finally became impossible to deny. His wife wasn't just hiding phone calls. She wasn't just acting distant. Sarah was having an affair. And the man she chose was the one person Adam trusted enough to build his future with. But what Adam didn't know yet was that this betrayal was only the beginning. Because the affair wasn't the real plan. The real plan was far darker, and Adam was only just beginning to discover it. Adam didn't remember driving home that night. Everything felt distant. The traffic lights, the noise of the city, even the sound of his own breathing. His mind replayed the same scene again and again. Sarah standing outside the restaurant. Michael stepping out of the car. The way she smiled. The way he wrapped his arm around her. The way their hands locked together like it was the most natural thing in the world. 9 years of marriage. And in a single moment, Adam realized he had been living inside a lie. But the strange thing wasn't anger. Not yet. What Adam felt was something colder. A hollow feeling in his chest. Like something inside him had quietly broken. When he finally reached home, the house was silent. Sarah had told him she would be working late. Adam walked into the kitchen and stared at the empty room. The same place where they had eaten dinner together hundreds of times. The same place where Sarah had laughed, cooked, and talked about the future. And now Adam knew that somewhere across the city, she was having dinner with another man. Not just any man. His partner. His friend. The man who had helped him build the company. Adam poured himself a glass of water. His hands were shaking slightly. For a moment, he considered driving back to the restaurant. Walking inside. Confronting them both right there. But something stopped him. Because, deep down, Adam knew something important. If he confronted them now, they would deny everything. They would lie. And Adam would still have no real proof. So instead, he decided to wait. And that decision would change everything. Hashtag the performance. Sarah returned home around 10:45 p.m. Adam was sitting on the couch watching television. At least that's what it looked like. In reality, he hadn't paid attention to a single thing on the screen. The front door opened. Sarah walked in carrying her purse and work bag. She looked slightly tired. But when she saw Adam, she smiled. "Hey," she said softly. Adam looked up. For a moment, their eyes met. And Adam wondered how many times she had done this before. Come home from another man's arms. And pretend nothing happened. "How was work?" Adam asked calmly. Sarah placed her bag on the counter. "Busy," she replied. "We're launching a new campaign next week." She walked over and kissed him lightly on the cheek. The same routine, the same familiar gesture. Except now Adam knew something she didn't. Just 2 hours earlier, she had been sitting across from Michael at a restaurant, laughing, holding his hand, and now she was standing here like she had just come from the office. Adam forced himself to remain calm. Long day, he asked. Yes, she sighed. I'm exhausted. Sarah walked toward the kitchen. Did you eat? Adam nodded. Yeah, I grabbed something earlier. She opened the refrigerator. Good. I am starving. Adam yachit her quietly. Every movement, every expression. He was studying her now, like a stranger. And what shocked him the most was how normal she seemed. No guilt, no hositashchen. Just the same Sarah he had known for years. Or at least, the version of Sarah she wanted him to see. Hashtag, 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 2 different lives. Over the next week, Adam didn't say anything. Instead, he observed, and slowly, a disturbing pattern started to appear. Sarah had become incredibly careful. Her phone was always locked. She took calls in other rooms. She often stepped outside to get better signal. But Adam also noticed something else. She seemed happier, lighter. Sometimes he would catch her smiling at her phone. Not the polite smile she gave coworkers. A private smile. The kind of smile people make when they're thinking about someone they love. Adam realized something painful. Sarah wasn't just having an affair. She was emotionally invested. And that made the betrayal even deeper. Because affairs built on emotion are far harder to end. One evening, Adam decided to test something. They were sitting together in the living room. Sarah was scrolling through her phone. Adam spoke gesualdi. Michael asked about you at the office today. For a split second, Sarah froze. It was subtle, but Adam noticed. She looked up quickly. Oh, she said. Adam nodded. Yeah. He said you've been working a lot. Sarah looked back down at her phone. Yeah. Things have been busy. Her voice sounded calm. But Adam noticed something interesting. She never asked what else Michael had said. She never seemed surprised that Adam had talked to him. Almost like she already knew. The realization sent a cold feeling through Adam's chest. They weren't just secretly seeing each other. They were coordinating, working together to keep their secret hidden. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag the moment everything changed. 3 nights later, something happened that made Adam understand just how deep the deception really went. It was nearly midnight. Sarah was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the bedside table. Adam looked at the screen. A message notification appeared. Just a single line. But it was enough. I miss you already. Adam's heart pounded. Below the message was a name. Michael. Adam stared at the screen. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. This wasn't suspicion anymore. This wasn't doubt. This was confirmation. His wife and his partner were having a full relationship behind his back. The bathroom door opened. Adam quickly looked away from the phone. Sarah walked out wrapped in a towel. Everything okay? She asked. Adam nodded. Yeah. He forced himself to remain calm. But inside, something had changed. The last piece of trust had just disappeared. Hashtag, 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 the realization. That night, Adam lay awake staring at the ceiling. Sarah slept beside him peacefully, her breathing slow and steady, like she had nothing to worry about. Adam realized something terrifying. She had become very good at lying. For months, she had been living 2 completely different lives. One life with Adam, one life with Michael, and she had managed to keep them both perfectly separated. Until now. But the biggest question still remained. Why? Why risk everything? Why destroy a 9-year marriage? Why betray both a husband and a business partner? Adam didn't know the answer yet, but soon he would discover something far worse than an affair. Because the relationship between Sarah and Michael wasn't just about love. It was about something much more dangerous. And Adam was only beginning to uncover the truth. By the time Adam reached the 4th week after discovering the messages, something inside him had completely changed. The shock was gone. The heartbreak had settled into something colder. Focus. Adam no longer reacted emotionally when Sarah smiled at him or kissed him goodbye before work. Now he simply watched, observed, collected information. Because if Sarah and Michael were capable of hiding an entire relationship behind his back, Adam knew one thing for certain. There were probably other secrets he hadn't discovered yet, and that thought terrified him more than the affair itself. For 9 years, Adam believed he understood the woman he married. Now he wasn't sure he knew her at all. Hashtag the quiet investigation. Adam started with the obvious place, the company. For the past 3 years, Adam and Michael had run their startup together. Adam handled product development and strategy. Michael managed operations and investor relations. It had always worked well, or at least Adam thought it did. But now every detail looked different. Every decision Michael made, every meeting, every financial transfer. Adam began reviewing company records late at night. Invoices, expense reports, internal transfers. At first, everything appeared normal. But the deeper Adam looked, the more strange details began to appear. Small amounts of money moving between accounts. Not large enough to trigger immediate alarms, but frequent enough to form a pattern. $3,000 here, $5,000 there, $2,500 transferred to consulting accounts. Each transaction was labeled with vague descriptions. Operational expense, vendor payment, project allocation. But something about the timing didn't make sense. Adam opened a spreadsheet and started tracking the transfers. He went back 6 months, then 9, then an entire year. When he finished calculating everything, Adam leaned back slowly in his chair, his heart beating harder with every second. The total amount missing from the company accounts was staggering. $180,000. Adam stared at the number on the screen. $180,000. Gone. And suddenly the affair started to feel like something much bigger. Because this wasn't just betrayal. This looked like preparation. Hashtag the first clue. The next morning, Adam arrived at the office earlier than usual. Michael hadn't arrived yet. The building was quiet. Adam walked into Michael's office and closed the door. For a moment, he hesitated. This crossed a line. But then he remembered Sarah's message. I miss you already. Adam opened Michael's computer. It wasn't locked. Michael had always trusted Adam completely. The irony almost made Adam laugh. He opened the email account. Hundreds of messages filled the screen. Most were business-related. Investor updates, vendor communications, team coordination. But as Adam searched deeper, he noticed something interesting. Michael had a separate folder labeled Archive. Adam clicked it. Inside were dozens of conversations, many with lawyers, some with financial consultants, and a few with someone Adam knew very well. Sarah. Adam opened the first email. The message was short, but the content made his stomach tighten. Asterisk. Once the next round of funding closes, we'll have enough leverage to push him out. Asterisk. Adam stared at the screen. Push him out? He opened the next message. This one was from Sarah. Asterisk. He still trusts both of us. We just need to be careful until everything is finalized. Asterisk. Adam felt his chest grow heavy. His wife and his partner weren't just having an affair. They were planning something that involved him. He scrolled further. Another email appeared. Michael had written, asterisk, once the board approves the restructuring, Adam won't have majority control anymore. Asterisk. Adam's mind raced. Restructuring? Board approval? He kept reading. Each message revealed more of the plan. Michael intended to change the company structure, shift ownership percentages, bring in new investors. And once the control balance changed, Adam could legally be removed from leadership. Everything he built, everything he spent years creating, could be taken from him. And Sarah had been helping him do it. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag the betrayal gets worse. Adam sat in Michael's chair, staring at the emails. The room suddenly felt smaller. His wife, his business partner, both working together behind his back, both pretending everything was normal. Adam scrolled through more messages, and then he found something that made his blood run cold. A financial transfer document. The same $180,000 Adam had discovered the night before. The money hadn't disappeared randomly. It had been moved into a private account, an account connected to a consulting firm. Adam searched the company name. Within seconds, the results appeared. The consulting firm belonged to Michael. Adam's hands tightened into fists. They hadn't just betrayed him. They had been stealing from him. For months. Possibly longer. And this betrayal may have begun long before Adam ever suspected anything. And soon he would discover a secret that would change everything he believed about his marriage. By the time Adam closed Sarah's laptop that night, one thing had become painfully clear. His marriage wasn't falling apart. It had already been dismantled, piece by piece, carefully, strategically. And the two people responsible were the ones he trusted the most, Sarah and Michael. But even after discovering the affair, the stolen money, and the corporate takeover plan, something about the situation still didn't make sense. The scale of the plan was too precise, too organized, too patient. This didn't feel like a relationship that had started 6 months ago. It felt older. Much older. And that thought haunted Adam, because if the plan had begun earlier, then his entire marriage might have been built on a lie. Hashtag, 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 the private investigator. The next morning, Adam made a decision. He needed answers. Not guesses. Not suspicions. Proof. That afternoon, he drove across the city to a small office building in downtown Chicago. The name on the door read, Harrison Investigations. Inside, the office was quiet. A middle-aged man sat behind a desk covered in files. His name was Daniel Harrison, a private investigator who specialized in financial fraud and marital investigations. Adam sat across from him and explained everything. The late-night calls, the restaurant, the stolen company funds, the emails, the divorce documents. Harrison listened without interrupting. When Adam finished, the investigator leaned back in his chair. You're dealing with something more complicated than an affair, Harrison said calmly. Adam nodded. I know. Harrison folded his hands together. If they've been planning financial moves for months, we need to look further back. How far? Adam asked. Harrison looked directly at him. Years. Hashtag, 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 digging into the past. The investigation started immediately. Harrison began researching Sarah and Michael's histories, employment records, financial activity, past addresses, social media archives, old photographs, anything that might reveal a connection. At first, nothing unusual appeared. Sarah had a normal career history, marketing firms, professional promotions, relocations between cities. Michael's background looked similar. Tech companies, startup experience, business partnerships. Everything looked clean, but Harrison knew something important. If two people were hiding something, it usually existed before the obvious timeline. So he went further back. College records, old business filings, archived social media accounts. And that's when he found it. A photograph, 10 years old. Two people standing together at a university graduation ceremony. The woman in the photo was unmistakable. Sarah, standing beside her, was Michael, both of them smiling, standing close. Too close. Harrison printed the photo and stared at it for a moment. Then he kept digging, and within an hour, he uncovered something even more shocking. Sarah and Michael hadn't just known each other in college. They had been engaged. Hashtag, 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 the fake breakup. 3 days later, Harrison called Adam back to the office. Adam walked in expecting updates, but the look on Harrison's face told him this was more serious than he expected. The investigator slid a folder across the desk. "You need to see this." Adam opened it. Inside were old records, photographs, university documents, apartment leases, and engagement announcements, all connecting the same two names. Sarah Whitmore, Michael Torres. Adam's hands tightened on the folder. "They were engaged?" he asked quietly. Harrison nodded. "For nearly 2 years." Adam stared at the documents. "But she told me she met Michael for the first time 3 years ago when he joined the company." Harrison shook his head slowly. "That's not true." Adam looked up. "How long have they known each other?" Harrison leaned forward slightly. "At least 12 years. The number hit Adam like a punch to the chest. 12 years. That meant something terrifying. Sarah had known Michael before she ever met Adam. But Harrison wasn't finished. "There's more," he said. He opened another file. Inside were financial records and old email traces. Harrison pointed to one particular timeline. About 9 years ago, he explained, their engagement suddenly ended. Adam nodded slowly. Sarah had once mentioned a past relationship, but she described it as a painful breakup, something she rarely talked about. According to public records, Harrison continued, they separated and went their own ways. Adam weitet. Something in Harrison's voice suggested the story didn't end there. Then the investigator placed another document on the desk, a shared bank account, opened 3 months after their supposed breakup. Both names listed, Sarah Whitmore, Michael Torres. Adam stared at it. They never actually separated, did they? Harrison shook his head. No. The silence in the room became heavy. Adam felt the pieces slowly connecting in his mind. The engagement, the fake breakup, the hidden contact, and then the realization hit him. Hard. Sarah had met Adam shortly after that fake breakup. They dated for 2 years. Then they got married. Adam looked at Harrison with disbelief. You're telling me, his voice faltered, that they planned this? Harrison didn't hesitate. Yes. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag the long con. The investigator explained everything carefully. Michael and Sarah had been together long before Adam entered the picture. Their breakup had been staged, a strategic separation. After that, Sarah met Adam at the networking event. Adam, a young entrepreneur with a promising tech startup. An opportunity. Sarah dated him, earned his trust, built a relationship, and eventually married him. From the outside, it looked like a normal love story. But behind the scenes, Michael remained in the background, waiting, watching Adam's company grow, waiting for the right moment. 3 years ago, Michael suddenly appeared again, not as Sarah's ex-fiancé, but as Adam's new business partner. A coincidence that now looked anything but accidental. The pieces of the puzzle finally formed a complete picture. The marriage, the partnership, the company. Everything had been slowly positioned over time, like a chess game, and Adam had been the final piece on the board. Hashtag, 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 the final realization. Adam sat quietly in the investigator's office. His entire life suddenly felt like a carefully written script. Every moment, every conversation, every decision. Had Sarah ever actually loved him? Or had he simply been the easiest way to reach the company? The thought was almost unbearable. But Harrison wasn't finished yet. "There's something else," the investigator said. Adam looked up. "What?" Harrison leaned back slightly. "You asked me how long this plan might have been running." Adam nodded slowly. Harrison slid one final document across the desk. A private message exchange between Sarah and Michael, dated 9 years ago, just weeks before Adam proposed to Sarah. Adam read the message and felt the last piece of his heart break. Michael had written, asterisk, "Once the company gets bigger, we move forward with phase 2. Asterisk. Sarah's reply appeared below. Asterisk, "Don't worry. He trusts me completely." Asterisk. Adam closed his eyes slowly. For 9 years he believed he was building a marriage. But now he understood the horrifying truth. He had never been the husband. He had been the target. But there was one final twist Sarah and Michael didn't know. Because Adam had already started preparing his own plan. And soon, they would realize the person they thought they were manipulating had been quietly watching them the entire time. After leaving the investigator's office, Adam sat in his car for nearly an hour. The city moved around him. Traffic lights changed. People crossed the street. Cars passed by. But Adam barely noticed any of it. Because in a single afternoon, he had learned something that completely rewrote the past 9 years of his life. His marriage had been a strategy. His relationship had been a performance. And the two people he trusted the most had been quietly working together the entire time. Sarah hadn't married him out of love. Michael hadn't joined the company by coincidence. Everything had been planned, carefully, patiently, coldly, for nearly a decade. Most people would have reacted with rage or despair, but Adam felt something different. Clarity. For the first time since discovering the affair, his mind was completely calm, because now he understood the truth. And once you understand the truth, you can start planning. Hashtag, the month of silence. For the next 4 weeks, Adam pretended everything was normal. He went to work. He attended meetings. He laughed at Sarah's jokes during dinner. He discussed company strategy with Michael. From the outside, nothing had changed. But behind the scenes, Adam was quietly building something. A case. Every financial transfer Michael had hidden. Every message between Sarah and Michael. Every legal document. Every piece of evidence. Adam worked with lawyers, financial auditors, and a private investigator. They collected everything. Emails, bank records, recorded conversations, company ownership documents, even the hidden consulting accounts Michael used to move stolen funds. The deeper they looked, the worse it became. The $180,000 wasn't the only theft. There were additional transfers, hidden contracts, unauthorized agreements with investors. Michael had been preparing to shift ownership control for months. Sarah had been feeding him internal information from Adam's personal devices and company discussions. Together, they had built a plan designed to destroy Adam's position completely. The company, the house, the savings, everything. But Sarah and Michael still believed Adam knew nothing. And that mistake would become their downfall. Hashtag the meeting. Exactly 1 month after Adam discovered the truth, he scheduled a company strategy meeting. Nothing unusual. These meetings happened regularly. The email invitation included only 3 names. Adam, Michael, and Sarah. Michael didn't question it. Sarah didn't question it. Why would they? From her perspective, the plan was nearly finished. Michael arrived at the office that morning confident. The company had just finalized a new funding round. Everything was moving exactly as he expected. Sarah arrived shortly after. She greeted Adam with the same polite smile she had worn for years. The same smile that once made Adam feel lucky. Now it just looked artificial. At 10:00 a.m., the three of them walked into the conference room. Michael sat down casually. "So," he said, "what's the big meeting about?" Adam closed the door behind them. Then he walked slowly toward the table and placed a thick folder in front of Michael. "Before we start discussing the future of the company," Adam said calmly, "I thought we should review a few important details." Michael frowned slightly. "What kind of details?" Adam opened the folder. Inside were printed documents, dozens of them, bank records, emails, legal filings. Michael's expression slowly changed as he looked down at the pages. Sarah leaned forward. Her face turned pale. The first document was a record of the $180,000 transferred into Michael's consulting account. The second document showed the hidden ownership restructuring plan. The third contained emails between Sarah and Michael discussing Adam's removal from the company. Then came the final section, the divorce petition, with Sarah's accusations of emotional abuse. The room became silent. Michael looked up slowly. "How did you?" Adam raised his hand, stopping him. "You thought you were planning the perfect betrayal?" Adam said calmly. Michael's face had lost its confidence. Sarah didn't speak. Her eyes moved between the documents on the table. Then Adam said something that made both of them freeze. "You forgot something." Michael swallowed. "What?" Adam looked directly at him. "I built this company." The conference room door opened. 3 people walked inside. 2 corporate attorneys. And Daniel Harrison, the private investigator. Michael stood up quickly. "What the hell is this?" One of the lawyers stepped forward and placed additional documents on the table. "These are formal notices regarding financial fraud, corporate theft, and conspiracy," the lawyer said calmly. Michael's face went white. "You can't be serious." "Oh," the lawyer replied, "we're very serious." Sarah finally spoke. "Adam, we can talk about this." Adam looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time in months, he felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just distance. "You've been talking for 9 years, Adam said quietly. "Now it's my turn." Hashtag the collapse. Everything unraveled quickly after that meeting. The company's board reviewed the evidence. Michael was immediately removed from his position. The hidden financial transfers triggered a criminal investigation. Within weeks, prosecutors filed charges related to fraud and embezzlement. The stolen money was traced directly to Michael's accounts. Sarah's involvement became impossible to deny once the email records were examined. Her divorce petition also collapsed once the accusations were exposed as part of a coordinated financial plan. Instead of gaining the house and assets, she was now facing legal consequences of her own. Michael tried to fight the charges, but the evidence was overwhelming. Emails, financial records, recorded conversations. Every step of their plan had been documented. The same strategy they had used to trap Adam had ultimately trapped them. Hashtag the final conversation. 3 months later, Sarah requested one final meeting with Adam. They met in a quiet cafe. For the first time in 9 years, they sat across from each other without pretending. Sarah looked tired, older. The confidence she once carried had disappeared. "I never thought you would figure out," she said quietly. Adam didn't respond. She stared down at the table. It was supposed to be simple. Adam finally spoke. "A 9-year con is not simple." Sarah sighed. "Michael believed your company would become huge one day. Adam nodded slowly. And you believed him." She looked up. "I did what I thought was smart." Adam leaned back in his chair. And destroying someone's life was part of that plan? Sarah didn't answer, because the truth didn't need explanation anymore. Hashtag the lesson. Adam left the cafe without looking back. His marriage was over. His business partner was gone. 9 years of his life had been built on deception, but he had also gained something powerful, the truth. And the truth had given him something Sarah and Michael never expected. Control. Because sometimes betrayal doesn't come from enemies. Sometimes it comes from the people closest to you. And the most dangerous betrayal of all is the one that takes years to reveal itself. But when it finally does, it destroys everything built on lies and exposes the truth that was hiding all along.